What's up, everybody? It's Dustin, Bushwhacking Tartaria. I'm coming to you with a edition of research here that I just got inspired by watching a video this morning from fellow researcher John Levi, and he was positing the history of, or what the actual peoples of Tartaria are, and I got inspired to go through and look through some of my old books that I have in my library from my grandfather that I'm lucky enough to have. And what I want to do is explain to you and work through a thought process that I've came to with regards to Tartaria and incorporating what came of autodidactic and I have talked about when we defined actually Tartaria. What I want to do is put together a kind of a grand cohesive narrative of more so of what that would be historically and what empires to look toward as to, I think, what the old world alliance was before everything got flipped over to the, I guess you'd say, the banker system. So what I'm going to do is we'll go through right now some old books and some pictures that I have. This is my book that I have actually right here. We're going to go through this. I'm going to explain, and I'm going to work you through my thought process incorporating ideas from what I see in games, in history, again in games, and how certain areas, certain cultures seem to have very similar characteristics and features, incorporating a previous video that I did on the Ottoman empires. I'm gonna detail how I believe the Vikings were similar to the Turks and the Ottomans, were similar to the Russians and the Mongols, the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, and for good measure I might even throw in the Orient and the Asians in there. That's going to be a posit, and this is I'm gonna try to, pun intended, weave a thread through all that. And my idea, my theory that I've come to believe is that there was an old world alliance we will call Tartaria, but there are certain mainstream empires that are being called certain things that were supposed to be, I guess, Tartaria, or the actual idea of Tartaria, if I'm explaining that right. It's gotten usurped and it's gotten certainly changed throughout history, and I'm going to try to explain that I believe there was an old world alliance, or at least a cohesive culture, possibly under the whole Tartarian flag, or as Philip Druzhinin calls it, the Rus Empire. And I believe in my opinion, that stems from the old Rurik invader of Russia, a Viking, King Rurik, I believe. And again, I'm going to explain how I think that, or I posit that the old world alliance that we may call Tartaria was actually comprised of elements of the Ottoman Empire, the Viking Age. Okay, so you have the Vikings, I believe, were in alliance, or at least shared a common culture in trading, and that's very important. A trading barter culture, from Viking to the Ottoman Empire to the Russian Cossacks to the Mongolian Khans. And I say that because I got inspired by the video from John Levi this morning, and I go and I rack my brain for books that I have. And I have this book right here. And I remember that I looked up the definition, or looking through this, I actually seen happenstance that Tartaria was in here. Now look at this, guys. Check out the date on that. I guess you'd go by the latest date, and that is 1953, if you can see it. Anyway, so this is what goes through my mind when I'm watching the tail end of what John Levi put out earlier today. And I again incorporate elements of this game that I'm playing right now that I just bought, which is synchronistic to begin with. Obviously the first 5 words out of a character's mouth is young berserker, so it's definitely right in my line. I heard some negative things about it being anti-Christianity. I haven't came up with anything of that yet. whatsoever. I think the Norse mythology runs parallel to Christianity under God. I have nothing against heathens or whatever. Matter of fact, I tout my Norwegian Viking background very highly, obviously. So when I see stuff like this, look at this, guys. That's why I see that hat, that fur hat. Now this is why I say stuff like this, because at face value, they're very similar. Now I'm going to go through and detail that. I mean, this is a Viking encampment in the game Valhalla, Assassin's Creed. And not only are their the hats similar, the way in which this kid dances is similar to the Turkish dance. So when they raise their hands and kick up their feet, he starts. Now, as I'm watching this, I'm playing the game, and then he puts his hands up. I think it looks similar to me, in my opinion. Anybody has gravy on this? Oh, he didn't put his hands up. Anyway, you can see the hats too, and I advise you to go through and look at the hats in this. It's similar to the hats of Turkey. That struck me immediately. Now, not only that, the last video that I did. Oh, we're gonna go over some of these pictures too at the end. It's a little teaser. Look at that one, huh? So what I'd like to do. Oh yeah, here we go. Remember the last picture and posit video that I did about the Ottoman dominions, and I had made not a claim, but I said, oh, this dude looks Viking. Now that would make sense. If this is Tortuga or Tortusa, the old pirate haven in what seems to be the old Ottoman Empire now, if what I believe is true, and what I'm positing here, research posit, you got the Vikings allied with the Ottomans, allied with Tartarian, Ruski, Cossacks. Because look at this. Let's go back to this, guys. I'm trying to lay this down here. Allied with the Khans and the Mongols. Can you imagine that? I could not imagine that. How did they... I'm just positing here. And you know what I want to do? To lay down the idea that it's okay to assert and posit ideas and fill in the blanks as you go. And I'm not even filling in the blanks. But what's going on here with this right here is effectively that. You observe something. This gentleman here is a theoretical physicist. This is my astronomy background, guys. Inflation. Why does the cosmos look so evenly diffuse, and why are stars so evenly spread out if you look this way or if you look that way? Like if you're just dropped in the middle of a forest. Now stick with me on this. We're going to come back to how all this relates, because I'm just throwing out theories here, making ideas, and I'm going to tell you that's exactly how this very distinguished theoretical physicist did it also. And they do it with not only inflation, they do it with dark matter, they do it with dark energy, they do it with supersymmetry, everything. Antimatter. They seemingly observe things and fill in the blanks otherwise. I'm going to explain how that happens right here with this example. Real world, or at least mainstream academic literary example of how they observe the cosmos. It's very uniform. However, they say that it happened from a big bang, an explosion, which is the most unrandom thing that you can possibly have. This side is more chaotic than this side, and I would cite a Mythbusters episode where they tried to paint a room Mr. Bean style with an explosion, and it's literally impossible because it's so chaotic. So if an explosion is chaotic, per what they say, the cosmos, as it spreads out, cools down, and slows down, shouldn't be as uniform as it is, or as it seemingly appears, or the stars, right? They explain that by inflation, by saying a fraction of a second of a fraction of a second after the Big Bang, called Planck time, the universe expanded exponentially faster than the speed of light, and this gave rise to everything becoming so uniform. It's literally called inflation, the inflationary theory. You can look it up yourself, and that was just a brief synopsis of it. But I'm telling you that they observe something, and then they fill in the blanks, and you can look that up, and it's literary citable. literature that's citable from the academic bottleneck of mainstream astronomy. Alan Guth is credited for putting that theory out there, and I'm likening that to what I'm doing here with this research. I'm seeing something, and I'm not necessarily filling in the blanks or making charges as they do and put it down in paper and say you got to learn it. I'm proposing the question. So for the detractors and the critics and everything that say, oh, you're just putting questions out there, well, that's effectively what this dude's doing right here. So that's all I'll say about that. Happy to research there. If you got questions regarding astronomy, happy to answer them. And I could talk with more stuff about astronomy than you probably would have a care to listen to, because I was big into that stuff. So there you go. Inflation, dark matter, dark energy. It's all just observe and then fill in the blanks. So let's do that here, but let's not make any claims or charges. Let's just posit questions. Anyway, so you have the Vikings, I think, allied with the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Cossacks, and the Mongols, okay, in my opinion, because look at what it says here. In this book that has a copyright of 1953 at the very latest, there's definition of Tartar. Excuse me. Where's that other book? Looking for another book here. Sorry about that. Now, Tartar, Turk. Turkey, Ottoman Empire. Cossack, Russia, Russian Empire. Could be Rus. I think Rus is also related to Viking. And then you also have, now I'm not familiar with what these are, and I didn't do the research on it. Maybe we could do that now, but I want to be a little bit more focused and try to lay this point down that I think that this was the old alliance. You have it right here in the literature. Now, and this is very important also too, because I have this for tangible research. I don't have to go to the internet for research. This is effectively not grabbled, not censored. This is a 1953 document, effectively, that I'm directly citing. And it's directly saying that Tartar, that which John Levi was questioning what they were earlier this morning on his video, that they were Khans. And this is telling you in the literature that it was, John. Most certainly it was. Not only was it Mongol, that which the Mongolian Empire also, off the top of my head, is what the mainstream academia calls the largest contiguous empire in history. We addressed this on our history channel with Campbell, autodidactic. Contiguous meaning land, on land, okay? The largest ever empire was the English Empire, because the sun never set on the English Isles. That's for area spanned across the realm, okay? Not all connected via land, because they had certain pockets in Dutch East Indies, and we're going to get to that. I'm going to explain how I think that this company right here had a major part in, I presume, disassembling that former alliance of the Vikings, the Ottomans, and the Russian Cossacks and the Mongol Khans. Okay, on the maritime level, they were able to go around them, I believe, maritime, and isn't that fitting for what I think their origin is? And we'll get into that also, maritime stuff. And we're not talking any kind of, well, we are talking tribes, but we're talking flags here, not any kind of cultural significant things here. Strictly characteristics of flags, because it is a valuable thing to be able to identify. If nothing else, it's a very valuable thing to be able to identify the other tribe's flag coming through the horizon. Okay, not coming over the horizon, coming through it. Hint, hint. So here we go. Yes, I think that this company is a major player, big time major player in the actual destruction also. So you think of this is what I think of when I think of Silk Road. I think actually that is it's alluding to that empire, the terra firma empire. Yeah, they had some maritime stuff going on, but they like to tell you the truth in certain ways, and I think actually the Silk Road and the whole expanse of the Silk Road may have been that the base of, or at least the southern base of the Tartari enterprise, if you will, because again, I believe, and again, this is wishful thinking, this is shooting from the hip, and of course it incorporates my my lineage of Vikings. However, I'm telling you guys that when I see stuff like this and they have similar hats to the Turks, to me, because it's so synchronistic, it's taken from, in my opinion, as an affirmation, especially with their dances being similar too. Their dances being similar. The Mongols have similar culture, similar hats to the Turks. Also, they kind of, on the steppes over there, that they kind of bump up. They've bumped up the Mongol Empire with I would assume the Persian Empire back in the day. I'm not really going to get into that time frame, but we actually can, though, because the time frames do kind of, a broad expanse, like the Qin dynasty, the first dynasty ever in China. I bring that in because I have to assume, I have to think that the Orient was a part of that, because they're a major player in the Silk Road also, is the Orient. That was actually the end goal of the Silk Road, is to get to the Orient, right? So I'm not sure what that people would be called, because again, they're not referred to here in the literature. It's just strictly, Tartar, Turk, it's Cossack, Russian, Khan, Mongol. And the Vikings aren't even, referenced. But although I'm not sure what these are, UHLAN, MURZA, I'm not sure, because it does also say that these things are under the Tartar definition. You go over to MURZA, okay? And then Tartar, Tartarus, I think this is a grabble, because Tartarus is the Greek hell, Hades, okay? I think that's to get you thinking a certain way. Tartar bad, Tartarus bad. I think that's a smudge of history. Again, they completely dismantled the entire empire. Why wouldn't they make you think that it's bad by labeling a Greek hell Tartarus? It's just my opinion, but they do play on words like that. So, again, I think that, let's cycle back here. This company had a major role in affecting the enterprise and the industry of this whole system. And you think you have you incorporate the Ottoman Empire here in Arabia. Obviously, the Viking Age came all the way down through here. Oh, I don't even have that. Oh, here we go. If you look up the history of the Vikings, obviously they start in Scandinavia and work their way down. And you think of how far they traveled. They were definitely, for sure, trading with, let's see, Tortosa, I presume. Look at that. This is what I'm saying here, guys. I don't know, but neither does Alan Guth. So, change my mind. I literally think the Old World Alliance, which was usurped and broken down by, literally, I'm not saying the banking system, you'd say. Literally, we had to start saying that stuff. It's not any kind of tribal. It's a mechanism of control. It's not a tribal thing. It's a mechanism of control. This banking system, and I think the Silk Road itself tells you what it was. It was a barter system, of honorary barter system. Okay, and then the I'm not sure if a part of me thinks that the Templars may be involved with this. In destroying the terra firma of the Silk Road. And I didn't go into time frame reference in that. I know that's biblical stuff, but they held on to some kind of secret. They found some kind of information underneath the Temple Mount and went back to Europe or whatever, and then the Silk Road diminishes. So it's like a 1-2 punch. In my opinion, I think that this company had the maritime control and the maritime sway and backing and financing of the aristocracy and the bankers and all that stuff. And they handled the maritime, the sea level of the barter trade, and completely dismantled that, because that's all this company was effectively, was the old school Smithsonian institution pretty much, is just grabbing all industry and trade. effectively. We can get into that in another deep dive, but that's distilled what the company was, effectively. It's detailed in Pirates of the Caribbean movie, Disney. There you go. Truth drop galore. Silk Road, possibly diminished by the Templars, possibly Crusade. I don't know the time periods of Crusades. I don't want to, but look at the time frame of the Viking Age. You know, the Viking Age is known to have been from, oh geez, where, off the top of my head, I'm 100 places at once in England. Okay, 793 A.D. to I think like the 1200s. You got the Viking Age, and the Mongols are around the 1200s, and then the Ottomans go from there on. So it's like that's the lineage of it, guys. That's the lineage of the Tartarian enterprise, old alliance that was, I think, dismantled by the banking system. Straight up, it was a barter. It was, in my opinion, a barter honorary system, and it was comprised of. Oh, and I believe also, let's incorporate this one as well. I cannot believe I forgot this. This is the other district of Northern Africa. Yep. So this was the Northern Africa district. Oh no, not these guys. The Moors. Not a Canadian clothing district or a company. So I think that also the Moors were in it. So excuse me, I forgot. I should have said that initially. Vikings, the Moors, the Ottomans, because the Moors and the Ottoman culture are very similar. That's why I'm trying to ping cultures that were similar looking also. Okay, because the Moors definitely were very similar in garb to the Ottomans. Okay, Islamic effectively, and we have a lot of Moorish. You know, you guys can look that up yourself. The Moors, they're very common. They're historically known from northern Africa, okay? And they did invade a little bit of southern Europe, okay? So what I'm saying is I believe that the Vikings were allied with the Turks. The Vikings were allied with the Turks, with the Mongol Empire, with the Ottoman Empire, and that's the Old World Alliance. The Moors also, I mentioned that. And I believe also there is... Now, I have to say that the Orient was involved somehow because again that's the end game for the Silk Road, or at least the end destination for the Silk Road, at least from Europe. Okay, and that could be a whole grabble right there. That the Silk Road, the whole idea of the Silk Road, was actually just the destruction of that old alliance, helped spurred on by these guys right here, and the aristocracy and financiers and the banking system of Europe, you know, and that's my grand cohesive narrative as far as what I think the Tartar Empire, or at least the Tartari Republic was. There was different nodes, and as Campbell and I described in our I think our last history channel, what was Tartaria? A bunch of different places. And I think it was a whole old world alliance, to be honest with you. And I think that the banking system and the bankers and all that took it down, took this whole enterprise down of honorary barter trade to set up their system of debt and usury. Take that as you will, but that's my opinion. And they used this company as a mechanism to do it. And then they change his story to their liking. And then they take stuff like this, and this is another book that I have. Might as well get into this. I think I showed you guys this before, but I don't think I put it into a form where you can see it like this. So look at that. This is a how come I cannot zoom in, guys? Hope you can see that giant water lily. Okay. Now we're talking about giant trees and everything, and giants and land of the giants. This is a book that I have that talks about real world things. For example, a sandstorm. This is that book. Oh, that's not that book. That's the other book that I cited previously in the video. This is The World by the Fireside. Pictures and Scenes from Far Off Lands by Mary and Elizabeth Kirby. It's an interesting last name. For those of you that know, you know. But, let's see. I think that what's happening here is I don't see the actual toggles to zoom in. Sorry about that. That's not going to work. I'm trying to get it so where you guys can actually see this, because what it details is that this is an old, and it has giant tree trunks. That's what it says. And in the next page, the picture, now to me this looks like these are the indigenous people, or what John Levi was saying, the actual Tartarian, the old world Tartarians. And I'm not sure actually what's going on here, but that looks like it's actually may actually be being burned. So yeah, when I say that these guys came in and took over, they came in and took over and probably destroyed all the old world tech and the massive trees that seem to be here. This is a book of natural things in the world, in far off places, and it's literally not just describing patagons and huge trees, but it's also describing giant lily pads. And like John Levi did earlier today too, it was a giant leaf. That giant leaf probably came from a tree like that, obviously. The giant water lily. Look at that. Look at giant water lily. I mean, there's no idea for scale there, but this is how the world was. It was way more fantastical. It was a system of barter, I presume. Again, I'm just doing a research and posit, putting questions out there, not putting it in a textbook and telling you that you got to learn it because it's science with a capital S. Give me a break. I'm saying, I'm making a cohesive narrative. I believe that the Old World Alliance was a benevolent alliance that which seemingly used some kind of either earth energy, natural water energy, aether energy. Also had a trading barter system that which was made up of Tartary, Russia, Mongols, the Ottomans, and the Vikings, because again they have similar garb. Ottomans have very similar garb. The music sounds similar too, a little bit to the steppe throat singing that Autodidactic has in the beginning of his videos. It's very similar. So I hope this was kind of a good, cohesive narrative, as I've said so many times, as I normally do, just completely say things over and over again. I hope that I made at least a good argument for the idea that what went wrong, or at least, yeah, what happened is that there was a barter trading system set up, and it seemed to have been benevolent. Check this game out; it's amazing. And it was comprised of nodes, different hubs of the grander Tartarian Republic. And I think the Vikings, the Mongols, the Ottomans, and I have to research more with the Asian thing. I'm not sure what that name would be. Let's go back to the pictures here and say, I'm not sure. Maybe what is MURZA from? So if and UHLAN, okay. So if Khan is Mongol, COSSACK is Russian, okay. TURK is Ottoman. Is MURZA the Orient or ARGOL? I'm not. I didn't go into that. Maybe my research comment crowd can help me out with that. Research contributors to MeWe. I appreciate all you guys. Maybe you can help me look into that, because let's see what we got here for time. Not bad, just under a half an hour. I think I'm going to wrap this up. Again, cool pictures from old books that I have that I can cite that go around the internet that are not grabbled. Literally, this one is from I think the late 1800s. You can look it up yourself. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's got a. It doesn't have the copyright date in the actual book, but I'm pretty sure I did look it up before, and it was from the late 1800s, and it's literally referencing massive trees, patagons, and water lilies. And John Levi cited a huge tree leaf from before. It was actually, that was sent to me from Michelle Gibson as well. Shout out to all you guys. Thanks very much for your help and the inspiration that you give to me. You know, I just got inspired today by watching John's video. I was going to do, and I will do, let me get back to this. I'll end it here. My next bushwhack in Tartaria is definitely going to be at this place, guys. I posted up. This is the Wooden Brooks Co. That's my next boots on the ground. I'm going to get there. It's actually, you know what? Let's do that right now. A little quick preview for you. So this is where I'm going to be. This is it once was the largest piano key maker in the entire world. I had no idea about that, and it's literally like a block away from where I'm at right now. So let's see where I am here. How BS is that image, huh? Okay, let's see if I can't get there. So yeah, this will be a preview for my next bushwhacking on the ground, boots on the ground for you. And it's going to be my neck of the woods, like really neck of the woods, because it is right here. Now, where we're going to go, this place right here, these two buildings are still standing. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser, because those buildings are right here. Let's get you a 3D. Boom. See that? The angle is, excuse me, sorry about that. Like this right here, that's kind of the angle. Like it's taking a picture from right here. Now what's interesting also too is, maybe you can prime me up a little bit now. I mentioned Michelle Gibson, and she's done extensive research on waterworks and everything, and even these round thing. I've always passed by this. Again, this is right down the street from me, without pointing exactly where I live. This is I don't know what this is for. This is a huge pool, and it's just there. I've never seen anybody working on it. I've never seen any kind of maintenance done on it. It's just a huge pool. Of course, there's a bus right there. Of course. Yeah, of course. Seriously. Yeah, this pool is always. I don't know what it's for. I don't know. I mean, the entrance is on this side, and that's those buildings right there. Now, on this back side of those buildings is where I'm going to enter from, because it's a business now, and I'm going to get down and I'm going to come from these tracks, and I'm going to come from the backside and come in and because there's a lot of old world gravy going on in this neck of the woods here, guys. There's some buildings that kind of look buried. This one looks like it's buried, and I don't think it's sinking, because it's a rather light red brick building. But yeah, this right here is this right here, and it's near my house, and I'm bushwhacking Tartaria, so I will be there. You'll have pictures. That'll be the next on-site video for you. So again, Grand Cohesive, Tartar. Yeah, it definitely is Khan, definitely is Mongol. John Levi, for sure. That answers that in the literature, pre-internet. It also answers that, yes, it was Russian. It also answers, yes, Mongol, yes, Turk, yes, Ottoman. And I say Ottoman is very similar to Viking, and I say that was the old world alliance under the Tartarian flag, probably, that which got grappled and completely dismantled by yours truly. And we're getting back to that. You guys keep your heads up. That light at the end of the tunnel is not a freight train approaching. It is daylight. We all keep moving towards it in our own way. We can only control our own spheres of influence. Keep your heads up and your spirits up, and everything else falls into place, and we're going back to that benevolent bartership. Mark my words and stand on me for that. This is Berserker Bear with Research and Posit, Picture and Posit Edition, and I'll see you next on the field, or in the field, okay? Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, share, subscribe, and again, keep your heads up. Catch you later.